Alfred led her into the Batcave, along with further emphasizing Joker killing Wayne's parents. Production went smoothly, and then a trailer was released to help build anticipation. It worked even better than expected, not only turning the fan base around, but even reports of people just buying tickets just to see the trailer alone. All of this was part of Warner Bros.' $10 million marketing campaign, along with 300 licensed products tied into the movie. WB also hired Prince, the pop star, to originally do the soundtrack score, but that job eventually went to Danny Elfman, who created a then iconic score that is almost equal to John Williams' work on Superman. Prince did craft a now infamous album that nevertheless went multi-platinum and generated $6 million in sales. Finally, Batman premiered on June 28, 1989, doubling the opening box office gross record at $40.49 million. It will then become the first film to pass $100 million in 10 days and go on to gross $441 million worldwide, $887 million in today's dollars. It also led to Jack Nicholson receiving a record-breaking payday as well, as his gross percentage amounted to $60 to $90 million take. Take that, Marlon Brando. However, the critical response was mixed, even among the fans who hated the Joker being made the Wayne's killers, though Nicholson's performance was universally praised. And the fact that he was killed throughout the fact that Batman killed throughout the film, something that didn't even happen in The Dark Knight Returns, despite what director Zack Snyder claims. However, Keaton proved to be an able Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Burton's atmosphere's direction made for an enjoyable film. The set designs and costumes were particularly notable, with many arguing to this day that Keaton's Batman costume is the best version to date, while the Batmobile and Batwing became instantly iconic. When the Batwing flies up and is silhouetted against a full moon, it caused more than a few fan-induced seizures. Plus, when the film was released on VHS later that year, it would gross $150 million by itself. I still remember the shock I got when I was a kid getting my copy for Christmas, which just added on to $1.2 billion Warner Bros. Made of licensing and merchandise. In many ways, Batman was the realization of Jeanette Kahn's original plan for DC gone even further. Now the gross for box office wasn't just factoring in the film's success, but also merchandising and licensing. It was a whole new expansion of the term blockbuster, and Batman was in the middle of it. I think I'm going to stop there for now. I like to keep these episodes around a half hour if I can, because I can't imagine anyone listening to me talk longer than that. When we return, we will, of course, get to the immediate sequel of the Batman movie, Batman Returns, along with seeing how the comics and other movies evolved as well, including the cartoons, and my favorite version of Batman, the Batman Animated Series. I do want to make note that my chief source for this episode and the future episodes based on this is The Caped Crusader by Gwen Weldon, a fantastic book that covers the history of Batman and his fandom from the very beginning. Highly recommended. Check it out wherever books are sold. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of the History of Comics podcast, and see you again next time. Hello, it is July 26, 2018. Time for some reviews, and most importantly, correction. In my research, I actually found out after the fact of recording this episode that there was a Batgirl before Barbara Gordon, and that was first appearing in Batman number 161 in April of 1961. Betty Kane. Created by Bill Finger and Sheldon Madoff, she is the niece of Kathy Kane, and as she was created, as Kathy Kane's Batwoman was created to be the love interest of Batman, Betty Kane was created to be the love interest of Robin. She is, of course, no longer in that role, and has since been reimagined as Flamebird in Secret Origins Annual number 3 in 1989 by Tom Grummett and George Perez. Well, that's part of this podcast is learning, and if you have any other corrections and mistakes I've made, I know I've made plenty, please let me know. And either that email address, the History of Comics Podcast at gmail.com, or on the comment section of Libsyn or the iTunes or wherever you feel like it. Now, as for reviews, Saga. My favorite comic of the week is Saga number 54 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, which concludes the battle with the Will as Marcos decides to take him on one-on-one. Just a great issue that has this balance between a brutal fight between the two, with a flashback with Marco and Hazel, his daughter, talking about whether or not she should become a parent or not. Just a great issue all around. Vaughn really knows how to balance both stories really well, with the family drama and the sci-fi action, and Staples' art is as beautiful as ever. The one negative, though, is apparently after this issue, they're going on hiatus for about for till next year. And after that cliffhanger they leave us on, you can't do this to us, man. It's the best comic book in the stands, and that just left me hanging. Can't wait for the next one. Even it's going to be a very long wait. Also, of course, this past weekend was San Diego Comic-Con, and there was some pretty cool stuff coming out of it. I have to say, the Aquaman and Shazam trailers look fantastic, and it looks like the DCEU is finally getting back on track. Unfortunately, though, that DC Universe streaming service does not look appealing. With their launch trailer of that the Titans live-action series that's too dark and violent, and quite frankly, looks like they learned all the wrong lessons of Batman v Superman. I know, with Nightwing, Dick Grayson, seemingly killing a bunch of criminals or just brutally beating them, depending on how they say the trailer is supposed to look. Either way, that's not Nightwing. That's Jason Todd Red Hood. And it's just a wrong tone all around. And plus, the price point of that streaming service is going to be $8 a month, which puts it in this range of Hulu and Netflix. And I'm sorry, but you need a lot more content to get a DC fan like myself to subscribe to that, especially considering that, well, I own most of the stuff they have on there on Blu-ray and DVD. The one thing that they have on there, though, is the Season 3 of Young Justice, which does look great, but just as HBO has Game of Thrones, I don't get that streaming service either. I just buy the Blu-rays when those come out, too. Outside of that, next week we're going to continue with our with part 2 of our 3-part series in the history of Batman. Until then, go out and enjoy a good comic book.